Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into a classic, incredibly high-stakes mythological confrontation straight out of the Mahabharata. We're looking at an absolute masterclass in ancient action sequences, a scene where duty, desire, and just pure, earth-shattering strength violently collide. Get ready for the epic showdown between the mighty Bhima and the monstrous Hidimva.
Picture this. It's a pitch-dark forest. A family is sleeping peacefully, completely clueless that a massive, flesh-eating giant is literally watching them from the trees. But that giant is about to realize that his own sister has fallen head over heels with one of those sleeping men. So what happens when a man-eating monster crashes a divine romance? Well, we're skipping the build-up and dropping right into the action, because the threat is already here.
Okay, let's dive into Section 1, the terrifying Rakshasa.
Before the fists start flying, we really need to grasp the sheer, terrifying magnitude of the threat that just dropped out of the trees and set its sights on the sleeping Pandavas. I mean, this isn't just some guy in the woods, this is the chief of the Rakshasas. The source text describes him as absolutely terrifying. He's got red eyes, his hair is standing completely on end, and he has this massive open mouth with long, sharp-pointed teeth. The text literally says his body is like a mass of dark clouds. He is just a colossal, visceral nightmare dropping out of the canopy, driven by one thing: his hunger for human flesh.
Just to make sure we're all on the same page with the stakes here, remember what a Rakshasa actually is. We're talking about a wrathful, mythological, cannibalistic being. They are defined by immense physical strength and supernatural abilities. So this isn't just a physical brawl. The sleeping family, the Pandavas and their mother, are in immediate mortal danger from a supernatural predator. But, there's a twist in the woods.
Moving right along to Section 2, Beauty and the Beast. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the absolutely wild, character-driven dynamic that sparks this whole conflict. See, Hidimba isn't alone. He actually sent his sister ahead first, and when she didn't come back, he comes down to see why. The contrast between these siblings is stark. On one hand, you've got the brother with his frightful visage, red eyes, and sharp teeth, but on the other, his sister. She's used her magic to disguise herself as this charming, beautiful human. She's got a face like a full moon, a delicate hue, flower garlands, transparent robes, the works. Why? Because she is totally smitten with the mighty Bhima.
So as her terrifying brother comes stomping in, the tension just skyrockets. The sister knows exactly how much peril her new crush is in. She desperately warns Bhima, basically begging him to wake up his family and mount on her hips. Since she's a Rakshasa, she can fly wherever she wants, and she promises to carry all of them straight into the sky to safety.
Well, you can probably guess how the cannibalistic brother takes this. Hidimba's eyes just dilate in absolute rage. He takes one look at his sister in her human disguise and realizes she is literally putting her own desires ahead of his next meal. He absolutely goes off on her. He calls her senseless, an unchaste woman. He accuses her of sacrificing the good name and honor of all their ancestors. He's so furious his teeth are grinding together, and he rushes forward to kill his own sister right on the spot.
But right before he can strike, Bhima steps in with a massive, booming, "Stop! Stop!" And here's a really fascinating look at classical honor. Bhima doesn't just block him with brute force. He defends her intellectually. He blames the whole thing on the deity of desire. He essentially argues, look, you can't blame her. She was moved by an uncontrollable force that affects every living thing. In Bhima's chivalrous view, she didn't mean any harm to her brother. She was just captivated. It's this brilliant ancient way of personifying psychological forces to defend a maiden in distress.
Which brings us to Section 3, the epic boasts.
All right. The maiden is defended, so now it's time for the clash of egos. You know how it goes in classical epics. The trash talk before the actual fight is a huge, culturally significant ritual. Bhima totally dismantles this guy verbally. He tells the sister not to worry, boasting that every Rakshasa combined couldn't handle his strength. Then he drops this incredible vaunt. Behold these strong arms of mine, each like unto the trunk of an elephant. Behold also these thighs of mine, like unto iron maces, and this broad and adamantine chest. He literally promises to send the giant to Yama, the god of death, and leave his limbs out for hawks and jackals to tear apart. Just brutal.
But of course, Hidimba is not backing down. It seriously reads like a back-to-back comic book showdown. The giant fires right back. What need is there, O man, for this thy vaunt and this thy boast? Accomplish all this first, and then mayst thou vaunt indeed. Basically, prove it. He calls Bhima a fool, and coldly promises he'll drink Bhima's blood first, kill the rest of the family, and save his traitorous sister for last.
And this brilliantly illustrates our final act, Section 4, the wrestling match.
Okay, the talking is officially over. As the verbal tension snaps into physical reality, the cannibal extends his massive arms and rushes at Bhima. Let's look at how this escalating conflict maps out. We started with the sister's warning, then the brother's attack, and Bhima stepping in. Now we hit steps 4 and 5, the violent drag and the forest-destroying brawl. It just shows how perfectly structured this classical action sequence really is. Suspense, character conflict, trash talk, and then boom, earth-shaking violence.
32. Now this is genuinely one of my absolute favorite details in the whole text. When the monster finally rushes him, Bhima catches the giant's arms almost like it's a game. Then, grabbing the struggling Rakshasa with intense violence, he drags him away, exactly 32 cubits away from the camp. Why? Because the giant is screaming his head off and Bhima is dragging him away so the noise won't wake up his sleeping brothers and mother. I mean, how considerate is that? To put that ridiculous strength into perspective, the text gives us this very specific comparison. He didn't just push him. It says, Bhima dragged him from that spot full 32 cubits, like a lion dragging a little animal. Think about that. Hidimba is this towering mass of dark clouds, and Bhima handles him like a house cat hauling a mouse. So once they're totally clear of the sleeping family, the real brawl begins. And it is absolute chaos. They fought like two full-grown elephants mad with rage. They're screaming, clasping, and dragging each other with massive force. The impact is so intense, they are literally snapping the surrounding trees in half and tearing up all the creepers on the ground. The environment itself is just being completely demolished by the kinetic energy of these two titans.
So, what does this all mean for our sleeping heroes? Well, as massive trees are snapping like twigs and the ground is literally shaking, the inevitable happens. The noise finally wakes up the sleeping tigers among men, the Pandavas, along with their mother. They open their eyes and what's the first thing they see? A beautiful maiden in disguise, a completely ruined forest, and their brother locked in mortal combat with a monstrous cannibal. How in the world are they going to react to the monster, the maiden, and the madness? Well, that is a cliffhanger that'll definitely leave you wanting more of the Mahabharata. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on The Explainer today to break this down. Keep exploring and I'll catch you next time.